I sat across from my son Robert at the kitchen table where I had served him breakfast for 37 years. The morning light came through the window the same way it always had, but everything else had changed. "I'm done supporting you," he said, his voice hard and unfamiliar. "I sold your father's inheritance. Survive on your own." I looked at the man before me and tried to find the boy who used to cry in my arms when he scraped his knee. The boy who would bring me dandelions from the yard and call them roses. But that boy was gone, replaced by someone who looked at me like I was a burden he could finally set down. "I understand," I said quietly. My daughter-in-law Sarah sat beside him, and when our eyes met, she gave me the smallest nod. Not quite a smile, but something cold and satisfied. I had seen that look before over the years in little moments. When I suggested a different way to raise the children. When I mentioned how we used to do things. When I simply existed in what had become her space. "The house was Dad's," Robert continued. "The money was Dad's. I've decided what to do with it." "Your father wanted you to have it," I said, and my voice didn't shake, even though my hands did. "He worked hard so you would be secure." "And now I'm secure. You'll have to figure out your own security." I nodded again. There was nothing left to say. I had already packed my bags the night before, after Robert had told me his decision over the phone. I had already arranged to stay with my old friend Dorothy until I could find something more permanent. I had already cried all the tears I had saved up for 50 years. When they left, I sat alone in the silence. The house creaked around me like an old friend saying goodbye. Every corner held a memory. The spot where Robert took his first steps. The wall where we measured his height every birthday. The window seat where his father and I used to sit on Sunday mornings with our coffee. Planning out our week, planning out our life. I called Dorothy and she came within the hour. "Come on, sweetheart," she said, taking my arm like I was fragile china. "Let's get you home." But that was just it. I didn't have a home anymore. Dorothy's spare room was small, but comfortable. She had put fresh flowers on the nightstand, and the bed was made with the kind of care that spoke louder than words. That first night, I lay awake and stared at the ceiling and wondered how a life could change so completely in the space of a single conversation. The weeks passed slowly. I found a small apartment on the south side of town, near the park where I used to take Robert when he was young. It was affordable on my Social Security and the small savings I had kept in my own name. Nothing grand, but it was mine. I got a part-time job at the library, shelving books and helping patrons find what they needed. The work was simple and it filled the hours. My coworkers were kind. Life settled into a new rhythm, quieter and smaller than before. But not without its own gentle mercies. Then came the phone call. 3 months after Robert had turned his back on me. "Mom." His voice was different now. Tight with something I couldn't name. "Mom, I need to talk to you." "I'm listening," I said. There was a long pause, and I heard Sarah's voice in the background, sharp and insistent. "We're in Milan," Robert said finally. "There's been a problem with the money. The investment advisor, the one Sarah found, he was running a scam. Mom, it's all gone. Everything. The house is in foreclosure. We're stuck here and we can't afford the flight home. Our credit cards are maxed. I don't know what to do." I sat down slowly, my hand gripping the phone. "I see," I said. "I know I have no right to ask," he continued, and now his voice broke. "I know what I did. I know what I said. But Mom, we have nowhere to go. The kids are scared. Sarah's parents won't help. They said we made our bed. I just thought maybe you could help us get home. We could pay you back." In the silence that followed, I heard my late husband's voice in my memory. "You'll know what to do when the time comes," he used to say. "You'll know in your heart." I thought about the money Robert had taken from me. The inheritance his father had left meant to keep me secure in my old age. I thought about the cold way Sarah had looked at me. I thought about being told to survive on my own. And then I thought about my son as a little boy, coming to me with every hurt and fear, trusting that I would make it better. "Where are you staying?" I asked. The relief in his voice was immediate. "A small hotel near the airport. But Mom, we can only afford one more night." "Send me the information," I said. I'll see what I can do. After I hung up, I sat in my small apartment and looked around at my new life. I had enough money for rent and food and not much else. Helping Robert would mean dipping into the emergency fund I had been carefully rebuilding. It would mean setting myself back. But he was my son, and those were my grandchildren. I made the arrangements that afternoon. The flights would arrive in 3 days. I sent Robert the confirmation numbers. His reply came quickly. "Thank you, Mom. I'm so sorry for everything. I don't deserve this." I didn't respond right away. I sat with my phone in my hand and remembered something my own mother had told me once, years ago. "Love isn't about deserving," she had said. "It's about choosing. Every single day you choose." When they arrived at the airport, I was waiting. Robert came through the gates first, carrying his youngest on his shoulders. He looked older, tired, humbled. When he saw me, he stopped. Our eyes met across the crowd. Sarah was behind him, her face pale and drawn. The smirk was gone. She looked like someone who had been taught a hard lesson. Robert set down his daughter and walked toward me. For a moment, we just stood there. "Mom?" he whispered. "Welcome home," I said. He hugged me then, and I felt him shake with sobs. "I'm so sorry. I was so wrong. I don't know how to make this right." I held my son the way I had when he was small, and I said the thing mothers have said forever. "You're home now. That's what matters." Sarah approached slowly, her eyes red. "I'm sorry," she said, and her voice was barely audible. "I pushed him to sell everything. I thought I knew better. I was wrong about so many things." I looked at her and I saw not the cold woman who had smirked at my pain, but a person who had made mistakes and would have to live with them. We all do, eventually. "Let's go home," I said. They stayed with me in my small apartment while they figured out their next steps. It was crowded and chaotic and nothing like the comfortable life they had sold away. But we made it work. We cooked simple meals together. We played cards at night. The children did their homework at the kitchen table. And slowly, quietly, we became a family again. Robert got a job at the hardware store. Sarah found work at a local office. They saved every penny. And after dinner one evening, Robert handed me an envelope. "Not much," he said, "but it's a start. We're going to pay you back, Mom. Every cent. Even if it takes years." I opened the envelope and looked at the check. It was small, but it was something. "Thank you," I said. But the real payment had already been made. Not in money, but in humility. In effort. In showing up every day and trying to be better. That night, after everyone was asleep, I sat by the window and thought about my husband, about the inheritance he had left. The money was gone, but what he had really given us was still here. The knowledge that family bends but doesn't break. That love is a choice we make even when it costs us everything. And sometimes, the balance that matters most is not in a bank account, but in the quiet moments when we choose kindness over bitterness, forgiveness over pride. That is the inheritance that lasts.